Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Tourismus Namibia, obviously a show that we bring each Saturday morning. My name is Frank Steffen. I'm the editor of Tourismus Namibia and obviously of the German newspaper Allgemeine Zeitung here in Namibia. As normal, we bring you a couple of news items that are looked up, and after that we'll do it a bit different under destinations. This week we'll actually phone through to Chloe Deur. She's at Henties Bay at the moment, and then finally we've got an interview which we bring to you as to the point. Those are our categories for this week as per normal. So up next, let's first have a visit the marketplace, and after that we come to topics. Topics, as always, I've looked up three items that I thought was of interest this week. Sadly, a bit of history. If you have a look at this photo, the first one, you will see what Wekkenvoort is, and I mean this is obviously part of history. The big supermarket in the center of town in Independence Avenue. For years and years they had their supermarket there, and they moved it out later to Marua, where they now have the spa. But this was sort of always a little piece of history that was left. I, for my part, loved going there to get the odds and sods, but sadly they'll be closing down after more than 100 years here. I've looked up I've taken one of these photos from Damals Vaas, which is a little booklet available at Allgemeine Zeitung, where we always have a look at what has changed in Windhoek, or what changed in Windhoek and Swakopmund over the past years. So this is what Wekkenvoort looked like. You can still see the taxi rank here on the right hand side is exactly like it used to be, or still is nowadays. These days you've got the First National building right here in front, so it's all, I mean, you wouldn't even be able to look that far down anymore. So this is how it started. What you see in the front, that road, was then obviously the Kaiserstraße, so Kaiser Street, and obviously after the independence in 1990 it was renamed Independence Avenue. So this is it's sad to see that old, you know, sort of, this is a supermarket which all of us grew up with, and Wekkenvoort is part similar to like Wilmenbrock and you know, those old type shops, and it's sad to see them go. It's not that Wekkenvoort has closed down altogether, quite the contrary. They've just opened another, or are in the process of opening another spa. But it's sad to see a good old-fashioned shop like that just disappearing. But anyway, they will close it down by June, if we understand correctly. So up next, I just wanted to show you, obviously on everybody's mind, Air Namibia. I mean, Air Namibia is going to be wound up. I'm not quite sure whether it will happen. There's so much resistance against it. All of a sudden, people want the airline open, and beforehand everybody said no, it should be closed, especially because it was accumulating losses second to none. So you can see Airlink has quickly taken up the opportunity and visiting the Hosea Kutako International Airport. And on the right hand side you can obviously see all our planes being parked off. In the meantime, it seems as though many of the two bigger planes actually had to return to America, because it's part of the lease agreement that if there is a winding up of the company ever, then those planes have to go back to the lessee. So yeah, that's just the one item. Then talking of Air Namibia, you could obviously see the one video that we showed there was taken at Hosea Kutako International Airport. And so up next, just have a look at these photos. They were made by Yannick Lemak. Yeah, it's very interesting to see. He visited the airport out there and joined a walkthrough. This is obviously the first and old hall, what is today the VIP hall. And so he was able to go through there. That VIP hall will also be upgraded. That should be finished in June if all goes well. But this is the more interesting part. This is obviously the front where the normal terminal is. And the way that we understood it from the CEO, Gerson Uirap, he explained that they want to double the capacity in the airport itself. And one of the big additions will be 3 luggage belts, which they're putting up there. So, yeah, it's nice to see that we're finally improving, and one can only hope that, you know, to build and extend a building is one thing. It is altogether another to actually have immigration officials speeding up their tempo and being able to actually handle it, because most people were not so much concerned about the building itself, but rather about the speed and the manner in which our guests were welcomed into our country. Because it's always been a big issue that where you've got these various counters and people need to come into our country and then they stand there for half an hour and wait for something to happen. And more often than not, we've had officials who were not that keen to assist. And I mean, it's like the Minister of Environment and Tourism said so often, that these are the people that welcome our guests, and there should be a real need for them to understand that theirs is the first impression of our country. So one can only hope, with the building being upped and modernized, that over time our officials are also retrained and hopefully understand that they should welcome our guests. I mean, this is what we do. This is Namibia's tourism will still remain a very important part of our country for a very long time, because even when all the mines have been finished, tourism can still carry on, because that's a sustainable strategy which should definitely be maintained, and Hosea Kutako is part of that. So don't fret, there will be other airlines landing for the moment, especially now that tourism hasn't really picked up yet. We'll be glad to have Eurowings and Ethiopian Airlines and whoever come here. It is my understanding that Qatar has just announced that they will only resume their flights as from October. But let's hope for the best and truly, hopefully have a good holiday season this year around, as from June, July, not later than August, September. Anyway, those are our topics for today. So up next, we'll be phoning and talking to Chloe De, who's down in Henties Bay, and that's obviously under our category destinations. Well, up next, destinations, obviously, and as I promised you earlier, we want to do it a bit different this week because Chloe Deer, my colleague, is down at Henties Bay in any event. So we asked her to maybe talk to us from there and lead us through 2 videos that she previously prepared for us. So without much ado, let's just cross over to her. Hi, Chloe, can you hear me?
Hello, Frank. So this is kind of an interesting setup, but you have to excuse my dog. He seriously wants to be part of this video, it seems.
Which is fun.
But yeah, I'm in Henties Bay.
Yeah, it's nice to see something different for a change and not always the studio and background. So, but anyway, you sent us videos and you wanted to first talk about?
I think the route from Waterberg that goes towards the Wheat Triangle, and just because it's such an exceptionally beautiful road, and I mean the route takes you through some of the most beautiful sites. There are a hell of a lot of cattle gates that you have to end up opening and closing, but it really gives you a sense of kind of the rural lifestyle going on in the area. A lot of really healthy looking cattle and some beautiful scenes. But what I loved that you and I often speak about is how the road kind of changed from kind of the Kalahari towards a more kind of white toned, and then eventually tar once you reached with the main road.
Yeah.
But the scenes were unforgettable, really, and also, I mean, like we always say, I mean, there obviously is the option to take the tar roads that are seemingly faster. But I wouldn't choose any other road if I was going from Waterberg to Grootfontein.
Yeah, actually,
Or
this part that you just showed us there on the video just now, that's as you start getting closer to Rietfontein, and it's some pretty amazing area that.
It really is. And this was before the rains. So I was already bowled over by the vegetation and the greenery that just was everywhere. So
Yeah,
I loved it. I actually can't wait to drive that route again. It was so memorable.
yeah, because
And these are the kind of scenes.
yeah, you
These
carry
are the
on.
kinds of scenes that you see along the way. You know, what makes Namibia so special is kind of the 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 rural lifestyle and the rural communities mixed with tourism, mixed with, you know, and so scenes like this become so memorable and so kind of unique to your Namibian experience, and that's what
Yeah.
I absolutely love about you know, taking the road less traveled, I guess. So
Yeah,
this is just a
maybe
route
just to
that
explain to the people quickly, it's really the route that you take from Waterberg, or let's say Karas, Okakarara, which you then take the backwaters and come out close to Rietfontein, which is essentially not far from the turnoff that goes over to the Hoba meteorite.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's actually it's well positioned to visit all the different. And I think 2 weeks ago we discussed the lakes,
yeah.
and this route also leads to the lakes. So it's kind of a varied. It's got lots of attractions along the way, which are great.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you, like I said, if you're not into driving tar roads but prefer to take the back roads, then that's a typical route which is very nice, which you can take. Obviously, going further up to Rundu, you would have to rejoin the main road again. But on the other hand, you might also, from Grootfontein, which, by the way, you saw in the background there as she was approaching the town, you can also turn left and go towards Sumip and go up to Etosha, or like she just said, Guinas and Oshikoto. Yeah. So yeah, quite interesting. So totally different area to what you used to, I'm sure.
Yes, but it's quickly becoming one of my favorites. So
Yeah, no, I told you. No, there's
yeah,
nothing
you
wrong with
did.
that area. Anyway, and then from there you ventured towards Etcher, wasn't it?
Yes, and that, I mean, it was a kind of a long winding route, but Mount Etcho is was also another very memorable experience, and accessible from Windhoek, even just for weekend getaways. But it really is, you feel like you're in a tropical oasis. I mean, surrounded by flamingo and visiting elephant and, you know, hippopotamus. Um, it's the lush green grass and everything make it feel like you're almost in a country club in the middle of Africa. It really is, you know, you really feel like you're not in Namibia anymore. And I think that's also what's so special about Namibia, is that each location you feel like this couldn't possibly still be Namibia. I mean, look at these flamingo; they couldn't be more happy. And the abundance of wildlife was also wonderful to see. Um, I mean, obviously, it's a very protected area,
Yeah.
because they have rhino and everything that they are fiercely safeguarding. But the abundance of giraffe, I don't think I've ever seen so many giraffe in my life. But these are the this is one of the lakes and pans that also had a lot of beautiful bird life. But I unfortunately don't have the best pictures of that. It was more kind of like visually experienced by
Yeah.
me. But yeah, wonderful to see the rhino kind of, you know, in their own habitat, but also very safe. So because you never really want to see them, you know, in captivity or, you know, for their own protection. It's just
Yeah.
wonderful to see them roaming free in such a highly protected area. It made the experience really memorable for me. Because we have to, you know, we have to remember that it's such a war that we're fighting, that each and every time you see a rhino, you really are on it, really. So
Yeah, it is
I
just
felt
a
very
magic
blessed.
and a majestic animal, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah, but this is really nice. I mean, it's something like you said. It's not far from Windhoek. One can easily get there, and yeah, what is it? A 2-hour drive, maybe 2.5 if you
Yeah,
drive slowly.
maximum. Yeah,
Yeah,
really. And on all tar up until the last 40 kilometers. So there's really no excuse.
yeah, and actually, the sand road leading to Mount Etch is actually in a very good condition as well.
Good, Nick. Yeah,
Yeah,
very good. And they have wonderful campsites, as well as, for every traveler, they have campsites or lodging. And the campsites are also on a kind of a lake. So it really is, it's wonderful for every kind of traveler. And I love that, that everyone's catered for, it's not kind of an exclusive place where, only a portion of the world can visit.
yeah,
It's
exactly. And I
wonderfully
think
accessible.
that is so important. We spoke about it so often on this show that tourism needs to be accessible to the own people as well, because it's only when the own people buy into it that you can have a sustainable solution, really. But anyway, your
Exactly.
weather seems quite nice down there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's been overcast since I first arrived, so this is actually for this time of day great. But apparently, the overcast was kind of unique weather to Henties. But I have to say, it was quite an introduction to what seems like an absolute like it was quite a it made everything feel really eerie. I mean, with the shipwrecks and everything that you
Yeah,
find on the
exactly.
coast, it kind of added to that. But I'll show you a bit more about what's going on in Henties Bay. I think next week probably,
Yeah,
because there actually are some great attractions as well. So nice to
yeah.
be positioned somewhere different.
And that is really it, is it not? That no matter where you go in Namibia, you're always surprised to find something new again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Unfortunately, you can't swim here, and so it kind of is. It's almost teasing us, being so close to the sea but not able to swim because the back current is so bad. But I'm sure. I'm sure I'll find a way to strap a rope to myself so that I can at least just experience the water at least once.
Yeah, well, or you must go further south and maybe see there are a couple of nice beaches there as well.
I will. I'll explore that. And apparently, there's also a Dead Sea, so that's also something I'll explore. So,
And
but
then
I'll keep you updated on all of that.
yeah, and while you're there, maybe you can arrange for us to have a look at the Omdel Dam, because that's not far from there either, because you're now very close to the mouth of the Omaruru River.
Yes, I actually walk there every morning. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll show you all of that. I'll take you on a little video experience of what you can find here.
Great stuff. That's a promise you'll have to keep.
I will. I will.
Okay. Okay, stay well. Thank you very much for
Okay.
showing us that little
Thank you.
snippet. And then we see each other next week.
Okay. Thank you, Frank.
Bye. Right, destinations, something different for a change. We didn't want to always repeat the same clothes down there anyway. So I said to why drive up here and come to the studio just to do it. Hope you enjoyed that little piece of difference that we brought this week. So up next, also different, we've got Yolanda Nell of Windhoek Express, and she actually spoke to Mannie and Goldbeck, obviously well known because of Gondwana collections. And so they had a talk, and have a look.
Welcome back, viewers. As mentioned earlier, I'm joined here with Uma and Mannie Goldbeck. Welcome.
Thank you.
I would just like to know, you recently launched a nice new project. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, actually we didn't launch it this year. We started it in 2019. It's called Go for Gold. It's a coaching and mentoring program, which is a 12-month program to groom the future leaders of Gondwana. And we are in our 3rd year this year, so it's 12 participants. We kicked off in January with a very young, enthusiastic group. A good mix between Windhoek-based and lodge-based people, and we're very excited.
And what does this project entail?
Yeah, the program is, it entails 6 modules. Every module is 5 days long, spread over 12 months. And every module has a topic where the participants are working on intensively with research group presentations. For example, we started off with module 1, which is all about self-awareness, getting to know yourself. Why are you working at Gondwana? Why are you here? What are your talents? What is your purpose? And then it goes on to module 2, module 3. Between the modules, the participants have on-the-job projects, which they need to do at the work, implement their learnings, and then they have one final year project where they have 12 months time to implement it, which will then be presented on November to the entire exco of Gondwana, which is always the very exciting, the most exciting day of the program.
And why are projects like these so important for Namibians, and especially for your staff?
Yeah, I think we've realized in the past that our biggest asset at Gondwana is our people, and we've been investing into our people since Gondwana started, and it paid off. And it's a program to groom mindful leaders, not just for Gondwana but for Namibia. And I think in such a situation that we found ourselves in this industry, especially last year, this is what we need, mindful leaders.
And your first month of this project has already been finished. How did that go?
It went very, very well. The first module is always at the beginning a bit tense. The participants need to get to know each other. Yeah. They need to understand how do we work. But it only took a few days, and they formed a bond already. They went back to work after module 1 with a lot of work. They have a lot of work to do. And we are meeting again at the beginning of March for module 2, and I'm very excited to see what happened until then.
And if we can switch over to Mannie, why did you find it so important to incorporate this kind of project into Gondwana?
That is the last thing on our mind, is to retrench staff and not to invest in our staff. We have done it for the last 25 years, and we will continue. And right from the beginning, when we started, we had a tripod philosophy, standing on 3 legs: the social leg, the financial leg, and the environmental leg. And over the years, staff have built Gondwana. They are part of our balance sheet, and it's the last thing we're going to reduce. And we keep them. They will help us later on to build this company after Corona again.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier you're 25 years old this year. How does it feel? You've been here from the start. Have you ever imagined that this is what Gondwana is going to be 25 years later?
Never. We had so many crossroads, we had so many points where we had to make a decision, but we never looked ahead and said, we want to be a big company with a footprint all over Namibia. We took it as it came, and we were very lucky in many instances that we could move on. And the same now, the challenges we got now, they're not over yet, but it's good to reflect a little bit and position ourselves new again. And that's why we continue with our staff, and we invest in them so that we are ready when the tourists are coming again.
Talking about the coronavirus and the restrictions we've faced since last year, some of the restrictions have been lifted. Are you expecting a big influx of international travelers this year?
We thought, it's only going to be 3 months, and it's 6 months, and end of the year it will be normal again. It's difficult to say, although we see a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
And we were very fortunate that the local Namibians and South Africans supported us in the meantime. We started already 15 years ago with a Gondwana card, so what is now you see all over, local is lekker and locals are traveling. This is something we embraced 15 years ago, and then we got a very strong Gondwana card holder base, 75,000 members, and they carried us in a big thing the last few months now.
And why would you say is it so important for Namibians to travel their own country?
And it's so wonderful to see that people from all walks of life are starting to travel and love their country, to appreciate it. And there's so much to be seen. And you know, the green season now, the good rains we had, it's a blessing. So it's a time now for Namibians. It's their time now to travel and experience the country. And it's you know, it's proudly Namibian. You know, it's part of what we have. And, you have to know.
Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on celebrating 25 years this year.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
We'll be back soon.
Right, and that was Mannie and Goldbeck. Obviously, Gondwana is really reaching out, and they've got a good plan, so let's hope the best for them and wish them good luck. That brings us to the end of today's show. I hope you enjoyed it, and remain well. Hopefully I'll see you next week. Until then, bye.